heaven is anywhere, it's in a blue Tacoma, California. White magnolia in your hair, rays of gold are shining on you. Ooh, if heaven is anywhere, it's never running out of golden road. Always having your hand to hold in a blue Tacoma, California. Ooh, if heaven is anywhere, it's right here. Woo! Yeehaw!
Hell no, brother. Not kidding.
I was like, bro, we hadn't ripped some country in a very long time. We got to rip a country one.
Russell Dickerson, bro. Blue Tacoma was not my first. I think it's yours.
Yours
That
by
one's
Russell
mine.
Dickerson.
I was a boat stuck in a bottle. Never got a chance to touch the sea. Just got in the shells, no wind in the sails, going nowhere, no one but me. You know that one? I was 1 in 100 billion. A burnout star in the galaxy. Just lost in the sky, wondering. Yo, I forgot about this dude, man. The Blue Tacoma show was
dude, I
a
didn't even know
banger.
you listen to country.
No, I love country music. I got into it with like pop country. You know who Sam Hunt is?
Yeah, I like Sam Hunt.
Like body like a back room. You think your music style changed
I
up
didn't really
since?
listen to country until I went to PT school in South Carolina, and then like that was literally the only thing that everybody ever listened to. So I went from like like hip hop rap to that.
EDM in like fucking Rutgers.
Yeah, exactly. Ultra Miami to country. I don't know. It's good though. It's kind of like a good kind of like switch up every now and then.
Nah, bro. If you listen to Jeremy Haynes, you already know country music is sad as shit. Is that what he says? What was that? What's the dude?
What's John Madden?
John Madsen.
Yeah,
John
I mean,
Madsen.
I think they're always talking about like love. Sometimes it's like good old sweet, high school love, and the other times it's like talking about heartache and heartbreak up and stuff like that. But yeah.
No, that shit had me dying. It's like, yo, bro, don't be listening to country music if you're trying to scale businesses.
None of that shit. Only Drake and Kanye with always winning.
Jeez, what is new in your world?
Bro, I ripped a 10K PR this weekend in Atlanta. Peachtree 10K. If you guys are runners, I would definitely recommend it. It's my second time running it, but it's USATF's like 10K championship. So it's there's like 45,000 people in Atlanta. It's funny because you start up in like Buckhead, which is kind of like a bougie area, and the like crowds up there are kind of just like quiet and stuff. And then you go down. As you enter into Midtown, that's where you start to get like like a much rowdier crowd, and like a lot of like local run clubs will kind of be posted up there. Lululemon's posted up there, and it's just like massive groups of people on both sides, kind of yelling at you and screaming. But like the types of music they're playing at mile 5, that's where kind of like where all the Midtown peeps are. It's all kind of like 2000s hip hop, with all the Atlanta legends like Young Jeezy, Ti, Migos, Future. I think I heard a lot of as well too. But yeah, it was a blast, man.
Dude, that's awesome. For some reason, I thought that was going to be a local race. You said it started in.
It started up
Buckhead?
in Buckhead, yeah. So up by like Lenox Mall, yeah. And then so we ended up Ubering up there, and then it's like you start in wave A all the way up to I think wave W, because of so many different people. And so I got there and I got dropped off around wave M. So literally my warm up was literally just like running through from like wave M all the way up to wave A, just trying to weave my way through. But yeah, it's a really fun race, man. Like the whole entire city kind of seems to like show out for it. There's always like a ton of people cheering about and stuff, and so it's a good time, man. Plus it's a short distance, 10K, you get it over with pretty fast. Not like a half marathon or marathon distance, and then everyone kind of just like parties and drinks and whatnot. It's a good time.
Is that from Catherine's Georgia Tech days that she's did that race, or?
Yeah. So Catherine went to Georgia Tech. So I don't think she ever ran it. She never ran it while she was there. But this is our second go about doing it. We did it last year as well too. But yeah, they've got like these 3 hills. One of them is called like Cardiac Hill. So it's it's the hospital. I think it's called like Northwest Hospital or something like that, up in Atlanta. But it's the hospital oversees that part of the hill, and so they call it cardiac hell. Yeah, it's pretty tough. But coming from Jacksonville, we have a 15K called the Gate River Run, and the Gate River Run at the end, there's a pretty big bridge you got to go up. It's about half a mile long. So last year when I went to go do it, I was looking online. Everyone kept talking about like the hills. So I'd imagine it was like that times 3. So last year I felt like I was like pretty conservative going up the hills, but the distance was like very, very short. It's probably maybe like 400 meters at the most. So you can really kind of like, be a little more aggressive and push up it. So that's what I did this go about. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. Dude, next year, GGC run meetup, Peachtree 10K.
Doug, I was just talking. Yeah, that sounds dope. And I was just talking to the team. I was like, yo, you know what? Next year, I think we should do a team High Rocks. Like, just get the whole team ripping a High Rocks together.
Dude, you guys gotta sign up for a High Rocks gym to get the early entry in order to get in. There's so many.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't even like sign up for a High Rocks now because they sell it instantaneously. So what you do is you gotta sign up with a gym that's High Rocks affiliated because they get early entrance. So that way, that's honestly, I think the only way you're able to kind of get registration. Yeah.
Nah, that's wild.
Is there a High Rocks up in New York City this year?
There was, I think it was in June.
In June, right?
Yeah, that's way too hot, bro.
Yeah,
it's way too hot.
Yep.
You need to go somewhere cooler. For me, nothing crazy this weekend. Just kicked it. It was just brutal to try to get 20 miles a week in this like weather. But I think I got to start ramping up soon to closer to like 30 miles a week and get ready to try and get this.
You're about to rip Philly, right?
Yeah, Philly. I think I'll probably start run like a natural program in like September, but I want to build the volume pretty high because I'm trying to get the sub 140.
Let's go, baby.
Sub 140.
You're ripping the half, right?
Half, yeah.
Yeah.
Sub 140,
good,
and then next year I'm going to try to go 345 for a full.
Let's go. Hell yeah, baby.
Yeah.
It's just heat acclimate. You got to acclimate to the heat a little bit. Same thing down here in Florida. It's like the first like month kind of just sucks as you're running, and then the summer, and then your body kind of gets a little bit used to it, and then it still sucks, but it just doesn't suck as bad.
Dude, it's fucking brutal. It was 100 degrees here in New York.
Dude, you know what running in the summer and having it sucks is kind of similar to?
What?
First time that you start to run ads. First time you start to run ads, it sucks. You get smacked. No matter what you try and do, you just get steamrolled. And then as you do a little bit more and more, it still sucks, but it gets a little bit better. How's that intro?
Hey, there's nothing worse like running in the summer. And there's nothing worse than getting going with ads because we know how it feels. You're like, hey, I don't know what's happening, right? Like I'm putting money, giving it to Meta. People are I'm seeing these crazy returns with all these gurus, but like I'm not getting anything, which is why we're talking about the mistakes today. So Peter, I already know what you're going to say the first mistake is. Just close your ears real quick. I'm going to say what I predict your first mistake is going to be.
I'm going to say the first mistake.
In 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Not tracking data.
Not running ads.
Oh, damn.
I was going to say, yeah, taking too long to run ads. I mean, shit, like this was probably something that I knew was on my radar for a very long time. I was like, hey, I know we need to run ads. But it just like took me a very long time to actually kind of get into it, partially because it was something that I didn't really know that much about. It's kind of this like foreign thing, right? Like I'm like, hey, I hear people talking about running ads. I know it's something that needs to be done in order to kind of help bring our physical therapy practice to the next level. But it's kind of just that you have that fear, right? And, I know we've talked about a couple times on the podcast how, we initially kind of started out with different agencies to help us get the ball rolling with that. And then eventually, obviously didn't really get the ROI that we're looking for. So eventually took the time to, actually learn ourselves. But even learning it ourselves is also a massive learning curve as well, too. But anyways, what were you going to say? What were you going to guess that I was going to say?
Oh, my first guess was that your biggest mistake is that you're not tracking your data.
Oh, well, that is well too. That is well too. But not tracking your data is better than not running any kind of ads at all. But I would say, yeah, I mean, like a lot of the people that that come in join in our program, right? One of the big things that they're looking to learn is like, hey, like I want to learn how to run ads, right? Like you guys are one of the main coaching groups that are actually running ads yourselves in your practice. Like I want to learn from you guys to see like what's actually currently working in cash pay physical therapy. Um, but yeah, I'll kick it off with like one of the common mistakes that I see a lot of times when it comes to kind of running local ads is really just not calling out your local area. I know a lot of times, like initially when I was kind of running ads myself, I would kind of just like call out, hey, like runners, if you're dealing with X, Y, Z, and then we'd have people in like South Carolina, Georgia, and all these other places kind of opting in. Like, hey, I saw it was like an offer for running. I'm a runner, but I saw you guys are Jacksonville. I am not driving 5 hours to come see you guys. And so this was shit like 3 years ago where you had to have like the targeting set up on the back end with the technical side of stuff to make sure you're targeting kind of the local area. But a lot of times now, like as long as you call out in your ad your local area, like it will show it to the local people. But I would say, yeah, that's kind of one of the first things, like in both the text as well as like the description of the ad and then the actual creative itself, you got to call out your local area. So for us and everything, it's like, hey, Jacksonville runners, Jacksonville locals, St. Pete, Clearwater locals. That's in everything.
Yeah. Biggest mistake, that is hands down one of them. Whenever we audit, again, right now we've gotten close to 100 practices that we've launched and helped scale. And we get to see all of these ads accounts. And it's becoming more and more popular that people are, offering kind of this meta ads coaching. And I think it's because Peter's been so heavy on the marketing to the point that he's gotten blocked by a few of the other people running other business groups. But I did a deep dive into what they were doing with their ad strategy, and it's not good, right? And that was one of the biggest flaws I saw, because Peter and I were a part of all these groups, and you can utilize meta ads library to look at everybody's ads. Mm-hmm. So we still know, we're still close with certain people from these groups. So we're like, hey, just always curious to see like what other people are doing. And I'm like, ooh, not good. Like those are big, big mistakes. And then the other thing that I would say, it's like we outsource as well. Peter and I, we've gone through a couple of different groups that have helped us set up ads. And I think one of the other biggest mistakes that I've seen is the excessive use of stock images or like very like clear AI. I can't tell you yourselves are already numb to reading like Claude created carousels, right? Mm-hmm. So why would you even stop and pause to look at like very clearly AI generated or stock photos? It just does not work.
Yeah. A lot of times you'll also kind of notice the quality of lead that comes in from like a stock image versus if it were a actual video ad is very, very different. I think one of the main reasons is primarily the fact that with a video ad, you can show a lot more of your personality. You can build a lot more trust and rapport with, people hearing your voice, seeing, videos of what your clinic looks like versus, in a stock image, if it's kind of just like an anatomy picture of like a shoulder, yeah, you get a ton of lead flow in. Maybe the cost per lead is really, really low. But then what's the point of that if like all the leads that come through are all very low quality, don't actually ever pick up or don't actually even end up booking initial evaluation? With videos, I just find like you're able to provide a lot more context, speak to a lot more pain points than what you can do in just like a single stock image. Now, I don't necessarily think like, hey, never run a stock image. I think like as you continue to scale your ad spend, you can test out different things with stock images to kind of see, hey, like, is this specific angle landing with somebody? But if you're just starting out, I would definitely recommend, I would always go with like a video ad first over static.
Yeah, the video ads always do better because one, when you're talking to a phone, it's almost like you're having a conversation with this person. It feels like it's talking. And if you do a good job with the actual creative and the messaging, it feels like you're having a one-on-one conversation with somebody, which is why it's really awesome. B-roll ads as well are really good. It's just so easy to collect actual media instead of using stock media or AI generated stuff. That's like, I don't get why other coaching groups still do it. It's probably because a lot of it's just easy.
It's cookie cutter, dude. It's cookie cutter. That's what it is. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, like, if people see like stock images are very easy to copy. Right? Like people will always be like, if you have a local competitor, they see you running a stock image, they're like, oh shit, like why don't I just run a variation of that? But the one thing that people won't be able to copy is going to be like your style, what you actually say, your proof in the clinic. They can't copy your clinic, right? Like your clinic and your voice and your face is all specific and unique to your own brand and your own company. And I think that's really what people have to double down at the end of the day is really just like, hey, what can you say and show that's different than everybody else? Because as ads gets more and more popular, you're going to start to see more and more ads like talking about and showing maybe the same thing. But what can you do differently about your creative that sets you apart from everybody else in your city that's running it? And that's where video comes in my opinion.
So we got one. The biggest mistake is not running ads sooner. And again, this is something that I used to always say. It's like, hey, get your first 10K a month doing stuff locally first, and then start running ads. But we're starting to see people have success just running ads right out the gate.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that's helpful of getting that first 10K, it's like it builds your confidence a little bit, right? Because running ads is gonna crush your fucking confidence until you get really good at sales. So running ads, call out, and then using like just AI generated stock images. What other big mistakes from the accounts that we've audited so far?
I would say another big thing is the actual offer itself. I've kind of audited a couple of ads where the offer is just like, hey, come in for a physical therapy initial evaluation. Like nobody cares about, or really sometimes nobody even really knows what physical therapy is. I think like that's one of the unfortunate things about our profession is like, well, physical therapy, like that sounds good. Like they might have an idea of what that is, but it's still very broad. And so the more specific and targeted your offer can be, the better. And so what do I kind of mean by that, right? Like physical therapy as a whole, we're generalists. We're able to solve a whole multitude of different things. For example, we're able to solve shoulder pain. We're able to solve back pain. We're able to help out runners, golfers, CrossFit athletes, high rocks athletes. But the thing is, people don't want generalists. They want to know that, hey, you're a specialist in this one specific thing. And so when we talk about like segmenting out your offer, it's really just wrapping your offer in multiple different packages that all funnel into the same thing, right? It all funnels into a one-on-one physical therapy and initial evaluation with you and your team. However, you can package it differently. So framing it as like, hey, you can if you want to target runners, hey, we have like a runner's analysis, right? Oh, that sounds interesting. Okay, I'm a runner. I'm dealing with pain. What's this runner's analysis that we're talking about? If it's shoulder pain, okay, hey, a shoulder pain analysis. A golf swing analysis, pelvic floor analysis, right? All these things are all things that you guys are able to help them out with, but it's just a way we package it that makes it feel a lot more specific for the person that's reading it. So if I'm like a runner and I'm like really into running right now, so a lot of like the things that show up on my newsfeed are all specific for runners. It's like if I have like a nutritional supplement and I see like a generic one on creatine, or if I see a creatine supplement that's specifically for runners to help them increase their 10K time, I'm going to probably go with the creatine one that is specifically for runners, right? Just because it's a lot more geared for my interest. And it's the same thing when it comes to the offer and the pains and the problems that you're trying to solve for these people. You got to make it specific enough for them.
And this is something where like you have to be super mindful of the language. One thing that we found is that there's a subset of people in our group where they run the pain-free run analysis, but they don't necessarily do like treadmill analysis, right? Mm-hmm. So like you could change the words up depending on your treatment style. So like one thing that we've done is like we've gone from pain-free run analysis to pain-free running evaluation. And one of our positioning angles is watching you run on a treadmill is not going to tell me exactly what's going on. I need to assess every single joint and muscle to make sure what's breaking down under load so that we can correct those issues first before analyzing your gait. But the whole thing is like physical therapy in it of itself is a commodity, meaning anyone can say physical therapy. It doesn't get anyone excited. Like branding is what takes it to the next level. So, pain-free running analysis, full body pain-free, evaluation, like say something that it feels like it's different than what they've already gotten before.
Yeah, and this is actually really good feedback that I've heard from our PTs from evals that have come in is they'll see our ads. Like one of our best like offers is just like a shoulder analysis, and they come in and they're like, yeah, I see that you guys are shoulder specialists. And that's why like I chose to come in and see you guys versus like going to like one of these other generic hospital physical therapy. Like, hey, it looks like you guys have helped a bunch of people with shoulder pain. I want to come in and see the specialist. And all we're doing, right, we're just framing the offer as an offer of physical therapy evaluation that's specifically for shoulders, right? And that's literally it. So frame your offer as something that's specific for either a body part or like a specific sport. I think when it comes to body parts, you can probably just go like look at, hey, like what are the most common body parts that you're currently treating? I think like generally speaking in the United States, right, low back pain is probably like one of the most common one. I think like shoulder is probably like number two, and then from there it's like hip or knee, right? Like I probably wouldn't go. Maybe like you're a big wrist guy, like hell yeah, like go for wrist then, right? But like you want to think like, hey, overall general like total addressable market for wrist, like probably is going to
No.
be pretty small,
Yeah.
in your area. So I think of like, hey, what are the most common issues that people are typically kind of dealing with, and then go and solve that. And then sports specific ones, right? Because we know, generally speaking, in the cash pay setting, like people who are into sports, who value an active lifestyle, are generally speaking more willing to put income and dispose, pay money to in order to get back to their sport. So I think like Iron, like triathletes, like that's a very common one. That's a really good niche to get into. I think I heard a stat where like the average household income for a Ironman or triathlete is like 150 to 200K. Like a bike is about like 5K to 15K. You can deck the shit out of a bike, and then an entry fee into a full Ironman is around $1,000. Cool. If people are going to pay that amount of money to just participate in the sport, they're probably willing to invest in their health to make sure they can continue to stay healthy.
That was literally my next one, where it's like the niche is like too niche, where it's like your cost per evaluation is probably be so high because you don't have that big enough of a population where you're
Yeah.
at. So like let's say you are in, I don't know, central New Jersey, and you're like BJJ athletes, and you look within like a 50-mile radius and you've only got four BJJ studios, right?
Yeah.
In that 50-mile radius, like you're probably not going to be able to build a big enough caseload off BJJ athletes. Likewise, like with CrossFit, it's also kind of like a sport that's like getting,
It's
it's
slowly
on the
tapering
come
down.
down.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
unfortunate. Yeah, like CrossFit shit. Like when I first graduated, like college and PT school, CrossFit was like the thing. But yeah, it's like with everything that's kind of occurred, it's definitely slowly kind of dying off. And like Hyrox is the new thing now. And I'll also kind of say this just from an overall LTV standpoint. A lot of the CrossFit athletes that I've seen before in the early days, they don't have a large LTV because they have a fairly kind of good strength and conditioning background already. However, runners, right, all they do is they love to run. They don't really know what a squat or like a deadlift is, right? So there's a long ways that we can take them from a overall LTV standpoint. Yeah, get them out of pain, but then from there, all right, cool. How can we continue to increase your overall time? How can we help you learn to run longer? Okay, it's by overall strength and conditioning. But you probably need a guide to do that to help you out with that because you don't have a background in that. So now we start to see the LTV really start to compound with the more if you can be strategic enough with this specific niche and doesn't have a good like strength and conditioning background.
I 100% agree. Most people that come this, like we have a great network with a bunch of people in like, Equinox,
Yeah.
Lifetime Fitness, and tons of trainers in the city. But again, if they're coming from another trainer, like we're not trying to have them become long-term patients. So we
Mm-hmm.
do love this kind of running demographic. Other thing is like, I kind of mentioned it before. It's like just not tracking your numbers properly. Like
Yeah.
if you're not tracking the numbers properly, it becomes really difficult to do the next thing well, which is going to be scaling your ad spend.
Mm-hmm.
But tracking numbers, like what nightmares have you seen, Peter?
Yeah, a lot of times people are afraid to increase their ad spend because they don't have the data to
Yeah.
reloop back to them. Hey, like what we're currently doing is correct. A lot of times people will focus on like a cost per lead. Right? Hey, like can I get the lowest cost per lead? But really, I kind of like to work backwards in terms of figuring out like what's the main our like KPI that we want to track. The main one that I always look at the end of the month is going to be our overall return on ad spend or overall like front end cash collected to ad spend. So are we at least around like a 2 to 3x return on ad spend for that? From there, we can kind of slowly start to work backwards on that to see like, hey, what part of the funnel are our KPIs kind of starting to break down. Average cost per evaluation of kind of what we're looking at. So how much it costs you to acquire a customer to actually come in and sit in on initial valuation. Anywhere between $200 to $400 is good, assuming we have an overall LTV of at least around 2 to 4K. If your LTV for a client is like very low, maybe like $500, then like you probably shouldn't be running ads, right? And that's really where we want to make sure we're setting up at least like larger care plan packages to make sure the LTV is high enough. Cost per acquisition: how much does it cost you to actually get a lead who comes in from ads to actually convert onto a higher ticket plan of care? What we're looking for is kind of usually around like a cost per acquisition ratio of at least like a 1 to 4, or maybe even 1 to 5 for compared to how much they're overall paying you. So the higher your ticket from an LTV standpoint, the more you can afford to spend to actually acquire a customer. But really, cost per acquisition, if that number is off, that's really where it comes down to your overall sales process. Okay, are we able to close these people when they actually do come in for initial evaluation? And then from there, you kind of slowly kind of work up. But I always kind of like working backwards. Hey, overall ROAS first, and then cost per acquisition, cost per eval, and then the last one is going to be cost per lead. I guess like when one more thing I'll kind of add on with like tracking your data is people a lot of times will look at their data every single day or every single week and make decisions off of that every single week. And it's very normal because a lot of times very early on when you're spending money, you're like want to make sure, hey, like what we're doing is effective. We're getting a net positive feedback and return on it. But a lot of times from what I've seen is like if you start to make decisions too soon, you don't necessarily bake into account the total like sales cycle of how long it takes for a lead to come into initial evaluation. So I always look at things at an overall like every 2 weeks and then at the end of the month before making any kind of decisions. A lot of times people in our group they'll put all their KPIs and it's like, hey, all right, like 6x ROAS, like cost per acquisition at X amount, cost per eval is this, cost per lead is this. Am I doing good? I'm like, yeah, dude, if you're within KPI, keep spending more. The whole point of like us having people track and understand what the data is so you can make informed decisions based off of the numbers. But yeah, like track your data. That's really where you can have a lot more clarity on whether or not your ad is converting well, if you need to swap out your ad, or if you should kill your ad, right? Take it off, or if you should continue to scale up your ads even more around the right offer, around the right angle, around the right creative. So there's multiple ways to go about doing it, but you got to track your numbers, track your data.
Peter, I mentioned one part about like, obviously your ability to close for a cost per acquisition. Other things to look at is like how many people are filling out forms, how many people are actually picking up discovery calls.
Yeah.
Because like if that breaks, let's say you're getting a ton of leads, but not a lot of people are picking up their phones, you might actually change your nurture sequence for that initial text message and try a bunch of different things to get people excited for that discovery call. Like whatever breaks along the process, you're trying to figure out like how can I make that number better? Because if you're below average there, you can make that number, 2 or 3x, then now you're getting way more for your ad spend. Whereas like, let's say your conversion is like at 50%, right? You're crushing the conversion to a plan of care, but you're not getting that many leads to actually pick up the call. And you're not getting many people to show up for those evals. Mm-hmm. You can keep spending, but you could probably optimize that funnel so much more with, text messages, follow-ups to make sure that they actually show up so that you can close.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things when it comes to getting people to actually pick up is going to be kind of part of the, what is your overall like opt-in process? So there's really kind of two different camps. Okay, sorry. I guess this will also lead into a mistake that some people make. Sometimes I've seen people run their ad opt-in directly to their website. So people click on the ad, it'll just go to their homepage or their contact us page. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, get rid of this. So the two ways that we typically recommend is run it specifically to an actual landing page. So that way it can still be an actual website, but it's a website page specifically for your offer. That way, hey, like everybody who clicks on this landing page and opts in with the opt-in page on that website came directly in from an ad. Typically, when you're running to a landing page, the cost per lead is going to be a little bit higher, but it's usually a little bit higher intent. Now, I typically like going more with the instant form. Instant form, Meta has made a ton of really, really phenomenal changes over the last couple of months that has made it phenomenal in terms of like filtering out lower quality leads. But it used to be like shit. Like I remember like when I first started running instant forms, all they had to do was like fill out their information. A lot of the information was like automatically filled in already, and then they can click
$4 leads, bro. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Like half these numbers wouldn't even necessarily work. But now, like Meta with instant forms, you can have them go through qualifying questions. So making sure everybody who clicks on the instant form, they have at least 1 to 3. Typically, we kind of see that 3 is a really good sweet spot for qualifying questions to make sure the intent is there. So qualifying questions, a good example might be, one of them might be like, hey, do you live in New York City? Or are you willing to come to New York City for in-person running evaluation? If they hit yes, it automatically transitions them into the next question. If they hit no, automatically redirects them off the page. Be like, hey, thanks, but unfortunately, we're not a good fit for you at this time. Second qualifying question might be like, hey, what are you looking to improve or get out of this running evaluation? And then maybe your questions might be, hey, I want to run pain-free. I want to run longer. I want to run stronger, maybe all the above, right? So these are all questions that only if somebody is dealing with a running issue that they're looking to improve from the running evaluation that they would feel like would be specific for them. And so you can kind of think of like, based on your offer, what are the right questions we want to be able to ask somebody that would only resonate with this one individual? And then the last one that I really like is Meta's like 2-factor authentication. So before they can submit, Meta automatically texts that number a 4 to 6 digit code that they have to resubmit back. That way we know, hey, it's an actual real phone number coming in. But yeah, I personally like instant forms a little bit better than landing page, primarily because my overall thought process is, if I have somebody who's going to fill something out for a landing page, they're probably going to fill in their information for an instant form as well. And then on the flip side, somebody who was willing to fill out an instant form, sometimes there might be a little bit too much friction on a landing page. It's just an additional step that takes them off of the Meta platform. Typically, Meta, think of any kind of social media platform. The platform is designed to keep them on the platform for as long as possible. And so with like the native fill out form with the instant page, it's all localized on the actual platform, keeps them on. So I typically kind of think like the ROI is a little bit better with that.
And the one thing we also add at the end is just like a redirect to like scheduling a discovery call. It's not that we are, going to wait until that discovery call appointment, but there are times where we just call them right away and just to see what's up. Say, hey, I know you schedule this, but all that shows us is there's higher intent, right? Like people are very, very interested. So that's another thing that you can utilize. Another big mistake is just like not calling the leads quick enough and not doing like an obscene amount of follow-up afterwards within that first week. Like within the first day of someone filling out a form, call them immediately. And if they don't pick up, try to call them 3 more times that day. And we continue that cadence for the first few days and we slowly do 1 day at a time. But the people that are on our team are ripping about 120 to 150 dials a day. Like you need to have that amount of volume and follow-up because you have to realize how often someone's being advertised to now. If you're on, it's no longer like, oh, I'm driving and I see a billboard. It's like, shit, you're getting advertised to when you're on Facebook Marketplace trying to find used furniture. I'm just saying that because someone saw our ad everywhere. Right? And that's kind of the goal is like to be everywhere. But you get, phone, you get it in the supermarket, like you're just being advertised constantly. So like you need people to remember who you are by calling them often.
Yeah. So Andy talks about like speed to lead, right? So getting in contact with somebody as fast as possible. And then also another big mistake that I see people make is the overall frequency of which people are following up. A lot of times PTs feel like, oh, I don't want to like follow up with people. I don't want to feel like I'm needy. But dude, like I look at myself as a consumer, like I fill out shit all the time or I'll have people like email and like contact me, like looking to sell shit. The only people that I end up responding to are people who follow up with me until I give them a response. Because for the most part, like throughout the day, I'm like busy doing like day-to-day shit, putting out fires, like optimizing stuff. And so I'm just like, I literally don't have the time to respond back. But if they continue to follow up with me at any given point in time, I'm going to like respond back because I'm either tired of them like contacting me and I want them to like stop, so I can know like, hey, all right, let's schedule a call, like let's figure some shit out. But a lot of times, like the you hear this quote all the time: the fortune is in the follow up, and I think that's 100% true. If you take a look at maybe like 10 clinics throughout New York City, and maybe all 9 clinics, they follow up with somebody maybe 2 or 3 times, and then they just stop. But Andy's clinic is the only one that continues to follow up with them, week over week, and maybe we taper off some of that intensity after a month or 2 months. If they still have the same issue that hasn't been resolved, they're most likely going to respond to the one clinic that has continued to follow up with them. And so I can't tell you like how many times our clinic has been able to kind of get like leads that we've already paid for, like either 3 months down the line or sometimes even a year down the line. People sometimes just take a while to actually like finally come to the decision like, hey, I actually finally need to come and get the help. A lot of times, like, people kind of like, they only want people who are like very high intent and want to come in, but people need to like come to that realization on their own. And that timeline is different. Right. And so you just want to be like the clinic that's in front of them when they are finally ready. And the only way you can do that is if you are the only one who's consistently following up. And if you're a solo provider, there's no way in hell that you're going to be able to consistently do that. And so another big mistake that I'll kind of lean into is like, you need a SDR, you need a front desk person to call
sales development representative.
Sales development representative, right? Somebody whose sole job is to call these leads, because no matter how much you think that you can do it all yourself, like it's a volume game, and you need to be able to outsource it and teach it to somebody else. And if you can't do that, then you're going to be the only person who's responsible for doing discovery calls, and like shit, you won't be in the clinic, but you'll still be working. And that's really how people are able to kind of consistently scale themselves up out of like fulfillment as well as out of delivery, is if they build enough systems that way they can teach somebody else who doesn't have a physical therapy background to come in and do a phenomenal discovery call and still close. I've seen other people where they will only hire like I think there's a coaching group out there that they only hire physical therapists for PTAs to do the discovery call because they think because they think that they need somebody that highly qualified to do the call. But in reality, like you can, as long as your like teaching process and onboarding process is thorough enough, you can teach anybody to come in, ask the right questions, and get them booked for an initial evaluation.
Real
and
quick,
you can pay them a lot less too.
Try to call a neurology office and see if the neurologist is taking a discovery call.
Yeah.
Right. The symptoms are probably way more severe than what is coming through the door of a physical therapy clinic. So just take that into perspective. But dude, I think we might need to do a part 2 of mistakes. I still feel like I still got a handful more.
I'm like in the zone right now. My brain juices are pumping. I was like, man, shit, I've got like 10 more other things I want to yap about on mistakes.
Yeah, there are so many things, but let me just say this real quick. One, if you're making these mistakes, you need to fire the person you're working with. 2, we're opening up 5 spots for GGC New York City. And again, it's going to be a movie, Creating the Great Alex.
Yeah.
It's August 15th to 16th, GGC live event. Got one of my buddies pulling up to town as well from Seattle to speak in it. And he's someone that's opened up multiple gyms, an amazing operator. And he's going to give us a deep dive into systems and culture, which I think he's done a great job of. Peter's going to be presenting on new stuff when it comes to ads. Christy's breaking down quarterly planning. I'm going through leadership stuff. It is going to be an insane weekend. We got a fun ass activity planned for everybody. And, it's New York City. It's the Big Apple. The Knicks just won. Like, come on. But it's only for the right type of person. Fill out the form. We'll have everything in the show notes. If we think that you'll have 10x the value by just showing up that weekend, we will invite you to come. If we don't think that we can help you and give you 10x the value, we will probably tell you to wait for another time, or we'll probably redirect you somewhere else that I think would be more valuable. Just want to add that caveat. We already sold 1 spot, 4 spots left. If you want to kick it with the best crew in the game, ain't no other place to be than GGC Live.
Come through. Shit, man. It's 6 weeks from now. It's coming up. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I started to do the to-do list because I was like, I got to order merch and do all this shit because We can't be doing this shit last minute like every fucking time.
We're slowly learning, man. This will be our third live event, and every live event we continue to make it better. But I've said this so many times now, but I love these live events, man. Throughout the year, we're always like jumping on calls with people on our group on a weekly basis through Zoom. But there's just something about in person. It's magical, man. It's magical.
Magical. And this one's gonna be fire. Like Texas, we got barbecue, we got bagels, pizzas. Like we're ripping all the fucking classics here.
New
So
York.
can't wait to see everyone there.
Peace.